On Food Social, you can explore, save, and share recipes from your favorite foodie influencers. Save to collections, create free meal plans, and shop the ingredients you need with ease. On Food Social, we make it easy to find great recipes, ingredients, and connect with hundreds of trusted creators.
Hello.
Oh, I just put my phone down.
Welcome, everybody.
What's in front of me? Sorry about that.
Happy Wednesday. Am I kicking off? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
We are here today. I'm mixing things up today because we have a very fun segment for you all today. We are joined by some of our creators. And of course, we have Bill and Michelle on as well, who join our daily live shows. And we have a very special guest today. This is Kent from Mixed Up Foods. And Kent has an amazing craft nut butter brand that is based out of Vermont. And we are all here today to chat all about the fun flavors that he has, to try them live. Some of us have tried some of them. Some of us haven't tried others of them. So we're really excited to do a taste test of these fun flavors. But before we kick things off, Kent, would you mind introducing yourself and telling everybody who you are and what you're doing with Mixed Up Foods?
I'd love to. So yeah, my name is Kent. I am the co-founder at Mixed Up Foods. We started back in 2020. It sounds like it was a COVID baby, and it kind of was, but kind of wasn't. But basically, what we do is we call it craft nut butter, and part of what makes it different than your average nut butter is we use blends of tree nuts. So we're not using peanuts, and we're not just using almonds we're always using blends of almonds, pecans, cashews, and or walnuts. And then if we sweeten, we use Vermont maple sugar. And part of why we use Vermont maple sugar is because it's amazing. It's also much healthier. It's a way that we can support our local economy, and also just not a lot of nut butters out there are using it. And it really is magical because we have tried using other sugars and it's just not the same. But aside from the nuts that we use and the sugar that we use, any other ingredients are all natural, minimally processed, but it's not because we're trying to make a health food per se. I strongly believe that if you want to make food that tastes just as good as it is nourishing, you are going to use something that wasn't highly processed in some sort of lab or some ingredient that's so far from its original form that you don't even know what it is. So I think it's just due to natural selection of choosing minimally processed ingredients. That's part of why our products are much more than just a typical nut butter, hence the craft.
I love that. Yeah, it definitely sets you apart. And that you're using sugar from Vermont is super. I love that you're supporting your local, what do you call that, a maple farm or
Well, yeah, I mean, in Vermont, there's plenty of maple farms, but yeah, just supporting our local economy.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of special things out here in Vermont, and we're not growing nuts just yet, or at least at scale. So, it's a way we can kind of nudge in that direction.
That's great.
I also think it's so cool that, in supporting your local economy, you're also supporting your local community. And I think that's why we jive so well at like Food Social and Mixed Up, because we really all appreciate that like nod to community and that like togetherness and just supporting one another. So I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and also I think something else that's really important for me about food, just as everyone here in Food Social I think also agrees with, is that food is much more than just like sustenance or what's in the ingredients. It's also who are the people who are making it, why are they making it. I truly see the nut butters that we make as a vehicle to communicate my values with the world and my community that can hopefully influence them in some sort of way, where a lot of people, when they, and I know some of you have tried some of the products that you have with you today, but a lot of people will try something like our maple creamy nut butter here, and it tastes like cookie dough, and someone will taste it and be like, whoa, let me see that jar. And then they'll look at the ingredients and be like, whoa, that's all that's in there. And then they might start to think about how they, I don't know, like how they shop in general, like looking at the ingredients and what is that experience like of the foods that they're putting in their body and how it makes them feel, whether that's literally just through taste or how do they feel physically afterward. And then beyond that is also, I find a lot of people, as they experience our product or just any high quality product in general, they think right away, ooh, I think this person would like it. They start thinking about how can I share this with other people that I care about? And it's a great way to connect with others. And then, maybe there's some story behind that, but yeah, food to me is much more than just fuel or health. It's also communication and I don't know, just like doing something. And anytime you can connect with somebody, I think that's great, because I think that's something that we're kind of losing nowadays in society. So
Agreed.
So well said.
I actually started gifting food to people instead of like gifts like that you don't need any more things. Just really high quality food is a great gift. And so like you're saying, just to create that connection and like, oh, I think so and so might like this. So I think, and the food brands have gone off the charts in the last decade. I just feel like we are getting so many great, and like to your point, Ken, quality brands that, because consumers are reading labels more and more, and the more ingredients they see, sometimes they're going to just put it back on the shelf. So that's great that you can read your labels and know exactly what you're doing. So many kudos.
thank you. So everybody here, before we get into tasting some of these, I'm just curious, what is everyone's experience here with peanut butter or nut butter in general? Like before you even had our stuff, what did you think about it? How were you using it? Whatever.
I love peanut butter. So, personally, I grew up on peanut butter and syrup sandwiches. That was my school lunch every day. So,
I've never had peanut butter and syrup like that.
oh, I didn't like
delicious.
peanut butter. So my mom pivoted to peanut butter and syrup. And back then it was log cabin, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Other that not real maple syrup. So today I still enjoy
high fructose corn syrup with caramel
Yeah,
coloring.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I have always loved peanut butter, but until, a decade ago, there wasn't any other nut butters as popular. It was the most popular offering way back in the day. And so I love the trajectory of how other nuts are available, and some are actually more beneficial than peanuts. So anyways, Allie, go ahead. I get into what you were going to say.
Oh no. No, I think I've always liked peanut butters, and I've gravitated more towards peanut butter because I found personally that like I just enjoy the taste more. But then I was realizing that some of the like peanut butters that I was eating were just so highly processed, and I think my mind was just kind of like in that rhythm of enjoying that. But then when I was diagnosed with celiac back in 2013, I started reading labels much more closely because I had to by default. And in doing that, it kind of just opened my eyes up to all of the additives and other things that get incorporated into products that made me just kind of less interested. So I was always looking for cleaner labels going forward, because as somebody who needs to read labels, I didn't feel as good when I was going to the store and choosing labels that I was already needing to read that had unfamiliar ingredients. And all of that sort of just opened my eyes to all different types of like nuts and other products. And over the years, I've started liking more and more like walnuts and pecans and all these other types of nuts. And I've seen like more crafty types of nut butters, and I think that they're just so exceptional, and they're such a great way to highlight like really high quality ingredients and flavors. But truly, like your nut butters, they are just so different because they are so clean label, but they offer like a really nice different type of experience, to use your word from earlier before when we were chatting. And I think they're just really, really great and allow you to still get that nut butter in your life with a little bit more fun too. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. That was a long-winded way of saying all that.
I can definitely relate to that. Like dealing with, oh, sorry, Ken.
No, I was just trying, whoever's next, you can continue.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that. Dealing with chronic illness, I've definitely spent more time in the past 15 years or so looking at labels. And it's funny because growing up, like we all used like Skippy or Jif or, you know, that kind of really processed, like ultra creamy peanut butter. But now, like, that gives me the ick. Like that texture of peanut butter, that's super smooth. Like I don't know, I can't do it. And what I love about these nut butters is a lot of times I'll try like flavored nut butters and they're like really finely blended and you can't appreciate like the individual flavor notes in the nut butter. Mm-hmm. But what I love about mixed up foods is that because of both the texture and the quality of the ingredients, like I can taste every single ingredient that's on the list. Like I can taste all of the notes. And they like blend together beautifully as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, Bill, let's hear it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've been paleo. Well, I was paleo for a long time and now I'm mostly gluten-free. So I'm definitely a label reader. And I've watched sort of the evolution of this space where around the 2010s when people were going paleo, like everybody went to almond butter. And you've seen this evolution in this space over the last 15 years where big brands like Justin's came out and others. And I think there's a real interesting opportunity for differentiation, taste and texture too. I'm actually a little bit more on team creamy texture, but also it is like an interesting play where certain things want to be smoother than others. But I've always really enjoyed nut butters as a snack. I brought my apple with me today because I love nut butter on an apple slice. So just really looking forward to trying these because I love seeing the evolution of this space. And I think this is a really interesting white space in the nut butter segment.
What about you, Jesse? Oh, yeah, the microphone.
Can't hear you still.
Yeah.
I do know Jessie loves your nut butters.
Yeah, and we heard her earlier, so we know.
We'll just ask her yes or no questions, and she can shake her head yes or no.
Have you always enjoyed nut butters?
Creamy or crunchy? One for creamy, two for crunchy.
Two.
Either one.
I think it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
It's like half calf.
Yeah.
Jesse, if you want to try rejoining, we can troubleshoot that and see if that's something that helps. But why don't we?
Technology's great till it's not, as we know.
It's not.
All
mixed
good.
up is always good.
Stuff like that happens all the time.
It's okay.
No big deal.
We'll bring her back in. I'm sure it'll correct itself.
All right. Well, we can also talk about the flavors that I sent to you guys for this live today. So we're going to go in a specific order because you need to manage the palate. Ideally, you take.
I love it.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So because you don't want to have Mud Season, which has coffee in it first, because it's too bitter. It'll overpower the other nut butters that are maybe a bit more mild in flavor. So the first one that we're going to start off with is Maple Creamy.
Nice.
I don't know if this camera is high quality enough to show you the ingredients, but it's just cashews, maple sugar, pecans, salt, and vanilla bean. So it's super clean. There is only, everything that we make is low in sugar, and it's maple sugar. So lower glycemic because it's maple, and just it's low in sugar, period. And part of what makes this tastes like cookie dough is the Madagascar vanilla bean. And it's, yeah, it has, I actually haven't looked into the science of it, but I think part of why it has this really rich vanilla flavor that that's more challenging to get from vanilla extract is because I think there's just those oils that are in there, those like naturally occurring vanilla oils in the bean. And we have tried using extract and it's just not the same. You don't get that rich, like ice cream kind of flavor, like French vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
I'm so excited to try this one. I
That's
specifically
really
waited. And this is the texture. It's like thicker, but
Similar to
thicker, but still creamy.
Yes.
Well, visually, yeah, and the camera's not doing it justice because it definitely has some texture to it.
Back to the
Oh, there you go.
There goes Bill's.
Yeah, there we go. You can see the flex of it, vanilla bean in there.
Mm.
All right, I'm excited.
Which
It's
is
a well-loved jar.
There you go.
And I'm sad Jessie's not here. She wanted me to try this.
Oh, this
On
is
some
magical.
So good.
Jesse's
Hey,
here.
I'm still watching.
She's here. Oh, you're
Hey,
on.
Jesse.
Oh, you can hear her. There we go.
We can hear you.
You're back,
Jessie, I've
and
got
we can
the
hear
mic
you.
ready to go. On
Go ahead,
girl.
Jesse.
Hi again. It's so, and then you got to put it on some ice cream, and it's so magical.
I love it with yogurt and fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I don't.
goodness.
So I've never been to Vermont or know a lot about maple, but I didn't like. I am so amazed by how the maple flavor comes through. Like
That's good.
it's so good. It's honestly a little mind-boggling.
Thank you.
Kent, do you have like a food background, or did you just grow up in a house where people love food? Because like, not only picking this as a career choice, but then talking about the distinction between vanilla bean and vanilla extract, like that's not just like layperson knowledge. And so,
No,
what's your background as it relates to food?
Yeah, so I would say that food is, I think when people think of me, like, you know who I am, you know I'm an absolute food geek. And I'm also analytical. I like to really play with ideas and rip things apart and dive into nuance and just approach things with curiosity and think about it. I've always been a big thinker, ponderer. But to get into the food component, I think one thing, you know, there's like nurture versus nature, but I think one thing that has been valuable is growing up in New York, where I'm exposed to many different cuisines and lots of different flavors. And then also my parents have been very good about exposing me to different foods and different cultures. And I think one of the core ways to experience different culture is to enjoy the food of that culture, because there's so many, aside from it just tasting different, it's like, well, why do we use these ingredients, or why is every Scandinavian recipe just potatoes, onions, and heavy cream and butter? And it's like, well, there's a reason behind that. And if cardamom doesn't grow in Scandinavia, then how do they have cardamom in their cardamom buns? And it's like, oh, it's because of the Silk Road. And so that's kind of like a base thing in terms of being exposed to different culture at a young age. And then growing up, my mother would have a few dishes she would rotate through every week for dinner. And so she would teach my brother, sister, and I how to make them. And then there was a point where she started having us make the salad for dinner. So we weren't like making the full dinner or anything, but she showed us how to do it, but we would make the salad. And then the thing that really got me into cooking as an individual, where I took it into my own hands to develop it more, is in high school, I really got into lifting weights. And as part of getting into lifting weights, when I was reading online, like bodybuilding.com, of course, something that's really important is you cannot build muscle if you're not fueling your body properly. You have to make sure you're eating enough protein, healthy fats, nutrients. You can't just eat whatever. And most of my life, I've been eating whatever. My mom has always put very healthy food in front of me. She's taught me how to eat in a healthy way. But compared to how we eat nowadays, They're still kind of after school, I'll be eating like frozen taquitos and stuff. so, so yeah, that's how I started
getting into cooking. When we're younger.
Yeah, exactly. And I was also a growing boy, so I could eat plenty. And so that's part of what got me into cooking a bit more. And then I remember the first time that I cooked something like really fancy. We would always have this Christmas Eve party. And I asked my parents, for this Christmas party, can I make a beef Wellington? That would be so cool.
Wow.
And that was like the first big thing. And I remember I look at the photos back at it now, and I'm like, oh, I should have left that in the oven way longer. The crust wasn't browned enough and whatever, but it was still good. Everybody appreciated it. Everyone was there helping chop the mushrooms and everything.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, so that was like part of my development of getting into cooking. And then when I was in college, I changed my major a few times, but I eventually landed on studying business and then minoring in nutrition and food sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up graduating from the University of Vermont in Burlington. And as part of my nutrition and food sciences minor, there was this class I had to take called Basic Concepts of Foods. And that class was all about food science. And that just like unlocked a new universe in my mind about cooking. And I learned that cooking is not as much guesswork as you might think. There actually are reasons why food comes out the way you want sometimes and why it might not come out the way you want. And as I learned more about that, I was like, whoa, I just became obsessed. And I went from working at General Nutrition Center, GNC, and then deciding to work in a restaurant before I graduated from college. And I had to, find a way to make a living that's more aligned with my degree or whatever. So I ended up working in that restaurant. I learned about cooking in a very different way, because cooking at home and cooking in a restaurant are two extremely different things. You think that people working in a restaurant are working in a restaurant because they enjoy to cook, but that's not necessarily true. There's actually a lot of people who work in restaurants who it's just like another job. And so I thought that was interesting, but I learned so many ways about cooking more efficiently, preparing food ahead of time, and just working quickly, because you're not there in your kitchen like playing music and dancing around. You have tickets hitting the floor, and you have to make sure the food goes out on time and all sorts of stuff. And so it was really fun, and it was also a job where I felt there's this like camaraderie that you have in the kitchen, because you're all there helping each other out. And sometimes people argue and everything, but they really are family. So there's a lot of history into the cooking thing. And yeah, some people think that, as this ties back to Mixed Up and nut butter in general, some people think, oh, did you just make nut butter one day and you just make nut butter? Like, no. I could be I could be making any other food, and the values and messaging behind it would be the same, or I might not even be making a product, but whatever I am putting out into the world, it would be aligned with things that I personally value. And that's part of why I'm so proud of Mixed Up, is because it's something that's truly a creation of my own, and I wouldn't sell anything that I wouldn't put in my own body. So, and how Mixed Up started, how Mixed Up started is, my father used to eat almost 2 pounds of peanut butter a week, and he'd always get Smucker's Crunchy. And then he found this, yeah, it's a lot. He would get the big spoon from the drawer. So, and he found this mixed tree nut butter at a store up here in Vermont near us, and they stopped carrying it, and we don't really know why. And I really loved to make stuff that you would usually buy at the store, but you wouldn't think about making at home. Like, for me, that first thing was making hummus. I was like, whoa, I made hummus? This is freaking cool. And so I just asked him what was in this nut butter. I'll make it for you. And then I made it for him, and he was like, whoa, this stuff is better than what I had. And this was right before I was going to graduate from college. So this is January of 2020. And he said, I know you wanted to start a business one day, And maybe this could be the starting point. Maybe we could sell it online. We could learn something at least, or maybe it could be a legit business. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And that's basically what happened. And then I had a marketing job lined up after graduation, but it fell through because of COVID. And I was thinking about turning it down anyways, because I'm like, I'm only young once, and while I can still live at home and do this, like I might as well just do it now because this is a great opportunity. And that's how it started. So there's my very long, dragged out answer, but I think you have the full context of how I got into cooking and how I think about the difference between vanilla extract and vanilla bean.
I think the context is one of the really neat parts about it, right? Because when you have a food product that anyone could make, and like I have a company that does organic spices, like the story is actually one of the more important parts about it. And I think that that path that took you to get there is really interesting. So yeah, I'm glad you told us. I'm glad you told us that version. That's good.
Mm-hmm. And I love that I love as a kid that you got the chance to, like, your mom had you do stuff in the kitchen. Like if she hadn't allowed you to do that, like I have 2 little kids and I have them cook with me all the time, which is sometimes, a pain, but at the same time, like, they, like, even though it takes twice as long, they're so much more confident. Like they get excited about food. And I hope for them that someday, like, they'll remember that, with something that they love to create in the kitchen and those memories around, doing it. And it's just, I don't know, it's neat. Like, I think it's neat that you got introduced so young and it's led to all these, other things.
Yeah. Very inspirational.
Yeah. And I also think, thank you. Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful thing too, where Jesse, you're teaching your kids a basic life skill, but you're also like spending quality time with them. And I don't think anybody's cooking with their kids and I haven't heard anybody looking back like, oh, my mom would make me cook with her all the time. It just sucked.
Yeah, like they love it. No.
And it's a fun activity, and I think that's great because it's a lot of people don't know how to cook basic food, and that's what may lead them to eating out and spending more money than they really need to, and then not really knowing what's going into their food. And like even if you just go to the regular grocery store and it's the middle of winter and you're getting asparagus that's been flown in from Argentina, which isn't ideal because that's like crazy. Like I only eat asparagus when it's in season, but that aside, you're still going to have a better chance of, like, what's going into your food. But even a step above that, if you're able to, is fortunately here in Vermont, local food is very accessible. We have a very farmer-centric economy, and just our culture supports it. But yeah, to be able to take that money that you may have spent on eating out, and maybe it's not the healthiest, you don't really know what's in it, you can actually just go to the farmer's market. You could buy something from the person who raised the animal themselves, or they grew the vegetables themselves, and you could talk to them. And it was the stuff that you're buying was picked this morning, so it's really high in nutrients. It tastes amazing, and it goes back to that aspect of community as well. So to be able to show people, like, go to the farmer's market to get your groceries, but then they're like, well, what do I do with this stuff? I think more people need to know how to cook, just basic stuff. So yeah, it's great that you're doing that, Jesse.
Yeah.
This is random and unrelated, but you completely blew my mind because I had never considered what GNC stood for.
Yeah, I remember.
One thing I love.
I think I remember the day that I learned that. What's up?
One thing I love that you talked about a little bit earlier was how cultural foods teach you a lot about geography as well. Like, I've just never thought about that very much. I'm Indian. I don't know if you could tell. And the foods that I grew up with are very different than like the foods that my peers grew up with I live in Oklahoma, so I grew up in Oklahoma. And yeah, I just haven't really thought about that. And obviously it makes sense. Like, I know that foods are cultural foods are based on foods that are local, but it just teaches you so much about like the geography of those areas too, if you just like dig a little bit deeper. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, to talk about the history of food and how ingredients or know-how migrate. Something else, because I've read into the food can be quite political in the, I don't even know what you call it, food media space. One of the hot topics that I find is the word authentic. Some people are like, what even is authentic? People are like, I want authentic X, I want authentic Y. And they're like, what is authentic? Because, and don't fact check me here, but from what I understand, Tacos Al Pastor is not actually authentically Mexican, because it was born in Mexico City, which is an international city, and people from the Middle East, when they came to Mexico City, they wanted to find something that was like shawarma, but they also wanted to cater to local taste where they're eating tacos. So they made this Tacos Al Pastor. So if you actually look at how the meat is cooked, it's very similar to shawarma. And so that's one thing that I think is interesting, an example of how you can understand this concept a bit more. And then I think when the Germans came over to Mexico, they taught the Mexican people how to make beer. So that's why there's Mexican beer. I don't know. But it's so interesting when you start asking questions and you start to learn a bit more about like, how did these people learn how to do this? Or there's just so much to be discovered and learned about everything that has happened before us.
Yeah, it's like chicken tikka masala. Like if you ask a lot of people their favorite Indian dish, they'll say chicken tikka masala. If you go to India, you're not going to find that because it's not actually is Indian. And then in the UK, they wanted to add a gravy to it, and that's where chicken tikka masala was born. And so it's like really a similar concept where people think that these dishes are authentic based on like a certain flavor profile maybe, but they're actually not.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right, let's go on to the next.
Where are you taking us next?
Yeah, so we started off with maple creamy. Also, I think I need to explain what the heck is a maple creamy. Something that's funny is some people will read this and they'll say maple creme, and it's, oh gosh, this like camera is messing me up. And it's spelled phonetically, creamy. And I remember the first day that I learned what a maple creamy was. This was maybe 14 years ago. I was going up to Vermont and I drove past this sugar shack, which is where they turn maple sap into maple syrup. And there was a big sign that said maple creamies. And I said, why? Like, what is that? Why do they spell it like that? And it's just a soft serve maple ice cream. Apparently there's some sort of very tiny difference between what soft serve ice cream is and a maple creamy is. I don't really know what it is. But in Vermont, we call them maple creamies. And so I have a lot of memories eating maple creamies every weekend. And then at a certain point, it just became so overwhelming. I just couldn't eat them anymore. So I rarely eat them anymore. But so as we were making these maple creamy, the idea actually started with, I want to make a nut butter that tastes like maple creamy. And that's why we have this. But it really tastes more like cookie dough or vanilla ice cream. Or, well, I guess that is kind of vanilla ice cream. But so yeah, that's the story behind that, to explain what the heck that is. But the next one we're going to do is the next maple one. Yes. It's Maple Bliss. There's no funny story behind the name. It's just blissfully mapley. And this one is very different from maple creamy. We still, of course, use maple sugar, but this is more a nutty maple. I like to say it tastes kind of like a maple walnut cookie. It makes me feel cozy inside. I feel very nostalgic when I have this one. And this one also is a 2024 Good Food Awards finalist.
Wow! So, wow! Congratulations!
Can see why.
Award. Thank you.
I love this one on my yogurt bowl.
Yes, same.
Yeah, it's like because it adds so much crunch and nuttiness. And the thing is like I often didn't buy nut butters with walnuts and pecans and cashews because in the store a lot of times they're kind of rancid flavor. Like they got that weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yours are
Totally
so
agree.
like they're so fresh
Mm-hmm.
and so good.
Yeah, they can taste old because
Yeah.
we know nuts can go rancid, or even before rancid, they just taste old. And I keep all my nuts in the freezer for that reason, because
Yeah.
they can't. They're they have oil in them, so they can go rancid. But that's the kicker with a lot of nut butters, is some just taste not fresh.
Yeah, but this one's amazing. I was blown away.
Yeah.
That texture.
Yeah.
is
Yes,
so
it's
good.
lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super
Bill,
nuts.
this is my favorite
Love-
one on apples.
Amazing.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
really good.
I'll go straight to it.
Yeah, come on, Bill, cut that apple.
So good.
The problem with these is you could just like keep eating them.
I know.
Yeah.
When I opened just one, I just crushed half the jar, and I was like, I should probably save some for another day.
Yeah, during this
It
summer,
doesn't feel like a regular nut butter. Like it feels like a treat. Like it feels like something you can just snack on by itself.
Wow. Boy, I really
Mhm.
like
Is there cinnamon in here?
I
Ken?
pieces of it. It's so good.
No, there's
There's no cinnamon.
I have put cinnamon. No, there's no cinnamon, but I have put it in there. But
Oh,
like in my own home.
homeschool.
But
I thought I
yeah, it
tasted
does have
it.
this cozy vibe to it.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
cozy.
Love that.
I look up and no one else is still eating. I'm like,
I-
we stop.
I already had like 5 spoonfuls. They're
I was
both
like, all
really
right, I
good.
ran out.
Mm,
So good.
Thank you. Yeah, and this one, it's just nuts, maple sugar, and sea salt. And to talk about the freshness, Michelle, this is something that we are hardcore focused on.
yeah.
Every time we do as much as we can in house. Like we're not shelling the nuts ourselves or anything, but
Yeah.
we do roast the nuts ourselves. A lot of other companies out there buy the nuts pre-roasted,
Oh,
so
well,
they're
that's risky.
they're not as fresh.
Yeah.
And they also, something else we like about roasting our own is that we can do a lighter roast, so we can kind of preserve that natural fresh flavor a little more. We roast it just enough to bring out the sweetness, but not too much where it just tastes super cooked. And
Right.
we always keep them refrigerated before and after roasting if we don't use them immediately.
Great.
And yeah, that's part of what are the, if you were to know exactly what our formulation was, like percentage wise, looking at the ingredients, if you didn't roast the nuts yourself or you roasted them the way that we did, you wouldn't be able to recreate it, because we've spent a lot of time dialing in the roast level for every single one of the nuts, because it's very different.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
And you
and
can
yeah,
tell.
You can tell, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
yeah. You can,
flavor. Yeah.
I can taste every nut in there, and that speaks to how fresh they are, because otherwise it just tastes like a nut, But I can taste. I love nuts so much, so I love.
yeah. And then when
nuts.
you blend, yeah, and then Jesse, like you were talking, I think it was you, Jesse, you're talking about how other companies might blend nut butters like to an oblivion, where it's like tahini, and yeah, you can't really taste what's in there because it's just all mashed together. Like it's like putting sauce on something to cover it up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, most nut butters, a lot of nut butters in my experience, because we've tasted a lot of other products, they're just like slightly rancid, and it's just not the same. And I get it. It is very challenging keeping up with the freshness, and you can't buy as much in bulk, and it is very challenging. But it is one of, like, it really does define our product. So we're not doing it any other way, because there is a lot of pressure to do it other ways. But
And what people might not know is that rancid oil is really hard on your gut. It rips. People might not connect that with a nut or being rancid, but it is really can be compromising for some people. So
yeah,
great that you
and
find
it
your
will
way
take,
to. Yeah, it doesn't. So
and if any all 5 of you don't know, and anyone who's watching this, you'll know that a nut or a seed is rancid is when it tastes, well, I don't know about taste because I've never tasted paint before, but it smells like paint or
Yes.
cardboard.
it has a really
Tastes like
weird
smell of paint.
in your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I would say it smells like paint and cardboard, and then it tastes like cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. We grab nuts from the store all the time, and it seems like so quickly some of them they smell like paint, and we're like, we cannot eat this.
Mm.
And yeah, I know what you mean.
Open the bag and it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's best to get the like walnuts from the refrigerated section at the fancy grocery stores or the co-op.
Yeah,
Not the baking aisle.
definitely. Okay, I
All
think
right,
I
so
know
we'll
what.
move
next.
on to the next one.
Yeah, where to?
I bet I know.
The cocoa spread.
Yeah,
Excited.
Not the mud season, not just yet.
not yet. Yeah.
So this cocoa spread, I like to compare it to the Big Brand because it's very different than what most people are used to in a chocolate spread. But I think everyone knows that the fancy chocolate spread from Italy is not good for them, but I think a lot of people like it. And then there are some people who are just like, oh no, I don't like that at all. It's way too sweet. So ours compared to the Big Brand, it has 80% less sugar.
Wow.
It has much cleaner ingredients. It's vegan. So we don't use milk powder, and we sweeten with maple sugar, and we use extra virgin olive oil. So there's no palm oil, no refined sugar, no lab vanilla. We use real vanilla bean, and
Wow.
it tastes like brownie batter.
Uh-huh.
That's very lovely.
My husband will love that one.
This is my kid's favorite.
Yeah,
They
it's
think
more awesome.
I like
Yeah, 'cause
this isn't trying to be that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, exactly.
the central flavor to that other one is based on hazelnuts, and that's not in the ingredients here. And
Yeah.
in lieu of that, you've used cashews, which are not, it's obviously a different flavor profile, but
Yeah.
I like that, right? Like I think that's
Lovely.
this is really nicely balanced and not trying to be something different, which I just love.
The
It's
spread who shall not be named.
The
I
salt is
appreciate Go ahead, Jesse.
I would say the salt level is so good in it. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
it actually it balances the acidity.
Exactly.
Like, it's so good. But yeah, this is my kid's favorite. They always take a bite and go, frosting.
I don't
There you go.
Of course, as they would.
Yeah.
I'm always that person who's like sprinkling salt on top of desserts, like, like flake salt on desserts. And so I love that these have the perfect sweet and salty profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that this isn't too sweet. It has like just the right amount of sweetness that you would want in it. And I could also eat this whole jar just with a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't think
It
I've eaten it
is.
the other way. I think I've only eaten the jar with a spoon. Like, I don't think like all the other ones I put in, but I think the chocolate one I've only ever just eaten by the spoonful.
That's good.
So good. And I feel like I'm often looking for snacks that are not healthy snacks because, like, I like a little decadence in my snacks. And I feel like these are the perfect balance. Like, you have the sweet, you have the salty, you have the, like, richness, and you have a different type of flavor that's not just, like, straight, like a bowl of nuts. I don't know. But, yeah, they're really nice. Like, when I want something. Yeah.
So good.
Great.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's lunchtime here, so this is perfect for me.
Yeah, that's great.
There you go.
We're dying. Take us home with mud season.
Okay.
My personal favorite.
Oh
Mud
my
season
goodness.
is my favorite too.
It's so good.
All right, so before we get into actually spooning out some mud season here, I have to explain why it's called mud season, and it's not what you might think.
Okay.
I think a lot of people think mud season, they think of mud pie or something like that. And in New England, which is basically the Northeast minus New York technically, there's this fifth season that we call mud season, and it's between winter and spring, where the snow melts and then it freezes over again, and then it's just ugly out. There's just like the snow melts, and then the water mixes with the dirt in the parking lots, and then it freezes up and it's gray out. But this freeze and the thaw cycle is perfect for maple sugaring. So the sap in the trees on maple farms, when it's warm during the day, the sap can flow freely, but at night, I'm not sure what happens when it freezes, but that certain cycle is really good for allowing the sap to flow, which helps with yield of maple syrup. And of course, maple sugar makers, they can only control that so much. So obviously you want to have a bigger yield. It's a crazy busy job to do, but you don't want a low yield because your whole business and livelihood's relying on that. So yeah, that's mud season, and I really wanted to make this chocolate coffee combo. Personally, I am a dark chocolate fiend, like dark chocolate. I don't mess around with milk chocolate, not for me. It's too creamy. It's like creamy versus crunchy. I want crunchy. I want the snappy dark chocolate, and I want the chocolate that when you cut it up into shards and you drop it on your cutting board, it sounds like glass. That's the stuff that I like. So
Great description.
and then and properly tempered, not that stuff that melts in your hands. So and then with coffee, I just love my coffee. Espresso, black coffee. I don't put milk or sugar in it. I like the fancy locally roasted stuff. And so yeah, this is like hardcore up my alley. And it's an almond cashew butter with a cocoa nib crunch. And then we blend in freshly roasted, freshly ground coffee. And it's roasted only 40 minutes from where we make this in Vermont by our friends at Vermont Artisan Coffee. So it tastes like a chocolate covered espresso bean. Let's just put it that way.
That's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Like, in the best way.
It's insane. Like I blew my mind the first time I tried it.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It is wild, right?
The crunch is impressive.
It is unreal.
Also, the coffee level.
You could just smell the jar.
Mm-hmm. I bet Ali
Yeah, like
Star's
you have that coffee flavor, but it's not bitter at all.
right.
There's a
Yeah,
dent.
and fun fact on this flavor, it took over 50 formulations to get it right.
Wow.
There you go.
That's dedication.
It was,
Yeah.
it was the most challenging flavor we've ever made. And there was a point where I almost gave up. I was trying to figure out a way to make sure I was using clean ingredients, that the chocolate flavor, whatever source it was coming from, was showing up, but not being too bitter, because cacao or chocolate, whatever you're getting it from, is going to be bitter in some way. And then of course coffee is as well. And you don't want to make it too sweet. And so the first few, probably up until batch 35 or something, I kept trying to use different types of cacao powder. And I was trying cacao from different sources. There are like different strains of cacao. Some had more of a woody flavor, some were more floral. And then I was adding coconut oil and honey, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I decided, I'm like, I think I'm trying to tweak something that doesn't need tweaking. I think I need to revamp it. And for some reason, I decided I think I need to try maybe blending cocoa nibs into it instead of cocoa powder. Because I wanted to avoid adding coconut oil or something, because so many nut butters add coconut oil. And then I was just like, well, what if I just blended the cocoa nibs in at the end? And it was a cocoa nib crunch.
What a great
And
idea.
so yeah,
Brilliant.
basically,
Perfect.
we did a tasting panel. Thank you. We selected some of our most engaged customers, and we did a tasting panel because this was it was so much work, and it had to be done right. And I needed somebody else's feedback other than us three living at home.
Yeah.
So it came down to 2 flavors that I sent out for this tasting panel. And the difference between both of them was that one of them was sweetened with coconut sugar and had a little more vanilla bean. And then the other one was sweetened with maple sugar and had a little less vanilla bean. Because maple sugar and vanilla bean and also coffee are all very expensive ingredients. So I was trying to do some level of cost control here. And everyone preferred the maple sugar one with less vanilla bean. And it was a blind taste test. So I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing. And that's part of why we've continued to have maple sugar in our products, is anytime we've done any taste tests, between maple and coconut sugar, maple sugar wins every time.
Yeah,
I believe that.
So
Yeah.
we just make it work. And
definitely.
you know, if people love our products for what they are, then we need to make it exactly for them. And yeah, that maple
Yes.
sugar, special.
The flavor profile is so good of maple sugar, and we've
Mhm.
baked with it forever too. It's like it's almost like you get that caramelization sort of flavor to it without actually having caramelization happening, which I think is so clever in these products, right? Because you don't have to do any unnecessary like heating or roasting other than what you're doing with the nuts, right? So it's like it sort of streamlines the process and brings complexity to the flavor. So I think it's a very smart ingredient to have in your product.
Also,
It also adds like a more concentrated maple flavor without adding a ton of sugar to it as well.
I don't think maybe it's out there, but I don't think I've ever had a nut butter with coffee in it. Like I think this is the first one I've ever had. And it's like it's genius. Like it's so good. But I don't think I've ever even seen another one.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there is, but
Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad you
there's
made that.
very few out there.
Well, I'm glad you
Ken,
persevered over 50 times because
yeah, we all
Yeah,
It is really good.
worth it.
so
If you ever need any more dedicated taste testers, you have 5 very willing participants
Ready.
Of course. And I know you guys all have great palates too, so that's very useful.
yeah.
Because we need
What is
people.
your favorite flavor of all of them, if you had to choose one?
Ooh.
That is a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
When I answer this question, I usually like to, well, it goes through my head, but I don't say it. But I'll say it's like choosing picking a favorite child. And then I feel like someone say, oh, I have a favorite child. but you know, I think I'm going to give you a nuanced answer, and then I'll give you an answer with context. So we have 5 flavors. The 4 that we tasted today are all of our sweetened flavors, and the consideration that runs through my head is like, how am I using it, and which ones are more versatile than others? I would say the least versatile one is Mud Season, because it's so bold in its flavors. It's very opinionated. It shows up exactly how it is. You're not going to mistake it for anything else. You're going to know that there's chocolate in there and there's coffee, and it's loud and screaming in your ear. So it wouldn't be as easy to use this on everything, depending on how you might want to use it. But straight from the jar, this is my favorite straight from the jar, Mud Season, because it has those bold flavors. It has that texture. And if I'm just hungry and I am lazy or I'm too busy or whatever, I'm doing a spoonful of this and I don't need anything else. That's it, nothing else. And then I guess if I had to choose between these two, I would choose the Cocoa Cashew, because just chocolate, sign me up. Like it's so indulgent and rich, and it coats my mouth beautifully. And then Maple Bliss, I would say for versatility, if I had to choose one, it would be Maple Bliss. It has a nice level of drizzle ability. It actually, some of the other ones, they don't taste like nut butters because we use cashews as a base, and cashews aren't very nutty, so they taste more like sweet spreads. Whereas Maple Bliss, it's nutty. I know it's packed with nutrients from the walnuts. It has just a little sweetness. So if I wanted to like add some healthy fats to a salad, I could drizzle some of that on top, and you could kind of have
That's a good idea.
think about the concept of like sweet and spicy, or if you wanted to add this to something with some rosemary, it would be pretty nice because there's a little bit of sweetness in there. The walnuts and rosemary go nice, but then also I could drizzle it on ice cream if I want. Or I could put it on a cheese board and someone could try it on a soft cheese or something like that. So if I had to choose, Maple Bliss, and it makes me feel cozy. And that's pretty much it. I think, Michelle, you think there's cinnamon in here because cinnamon's a cozy spice. There is no cinnamon.
Yeah. I just
It's just-
retasted it when you were saying that, and it is Like when you said put it on a salad, I'm like, yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
maple
what I'm
bliss, I
hearing
like
is
to have
they're
it.
all-
No, I want to hear your recap.
I said what I'm hearing is they're all your favorites depending on the circumstance.
I would say yes, but if I was like back against the wall and you're like, you have to tell me, it would be maple bliss.
Yeah. That's great.
This is the one that I spend the rest of my life with.
That's some
Okay.
commitment right there.
That's saying something for sure. That's great.
At least for now.
Yeah.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you. And this was so much fun. And
Thank you so much.
I have
Thank you
4
so
new
much.
favorites. Well, 3 new ones because I already love maple or
Yeah.
wet
I
season.
love
But
this.
we're so excited to have you in our community and to have your craft nut butters in our market. And thank you so much for spending time with us today and educating everybody about your amazing products. And yeah, this was so much fun. Thanks for being a part of this with us.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was great meeting you all, and thanks for listening to my nut butter talk.
Oh, it's great.
It's
Hopefully you learned something.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
We're not.
We learned a lot. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Kent. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
You
See
all
you
everyone.
next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.